Hello, my name is Kurt Rice, VP of Technical Services with Interprise Solutions. This is the first video in the Enterprise Installation series, and we'll cover the prerequisites for installing Enterprise Solutions and ISE, the Interprise Suite e-commerce. Topics that we'll be covering today include the Microsoft .NET Framework 2.0, the Microsoft WSC 3.0 runtime, Microsoft's MS XML 6.0 framework, Microsoft SQL Express 2005, and Microsoft SQL Express Server Management Studio. So to prepare for this video, I downloaded all of these things free from Microsoft on the internet. They're easily findable. I'll highlight each one of these so you know what you're searching for. The .NET Framework Service Pack 2, the 2.0, the Microsoft Web Service Enhancements 3.0 runtime, the MS XML 6 for the x86 computer. There's also a version available for 64-bit architecture. I've got SQL Express 32-bit edition, SQL Server Management Studio, and then I've got Enterprise Suite, the ISB Enterprise Suite for Small Business 5.41, and the Enterprise Suite e-commerce 5.41, which I've already extracted to this folder. In previous editions, the e-commerce edition, the Enterprise Suite e-commerce was included in the installer. Starting in version 5.4.1, that's been extracted out into its own zip file, and we'll show you how to add that into Enterprise Information Services here in a moment. So let's get started with installing the .NET Framework. I'm going to show you what each of these installations will look like so you'll know what to expect while you're installing the software. In this case, I can see the product is already installed on the machine. I'll show you how to validate that. This can be done by opening up Windows Explorer, going down into Microsoft Windows, down into the Microsoft .NET frameworks, and I can see that 2.0 is already installed here. Next, I'll install the WSC 3.0 runtime. I can see, because the repair is shown here, that is installed as well. I'll go ahead and just install it anyway. These should only take a few seconds to install each. The MS XML will install next. I can see this is also already installed. Notice that none of these have configurations that you need to worry about. So this is a Windows 2003 server. Next I'm going to be installing IIS, and we'll show you how we install IIS on a computer that may not have it on already. I'll go to Add Remove Programs, then Add Remove Windows Components. You may need to have your installation CDs or DVDs for Windows 2003 handy when you do this. I'm going to click on Application Server. I'll click on Details, which installs IIS. I'm going to make sure that we have all items selected that we need. I may choose to include active server pages, the standard ASP pages, but by default the things that are included here are good enough. I'll click on OK, click on Next, and continue the install process. As we can see in my case, it's prompting me for the Service Pack 1 CD-ROM. I'll install that now. And after I insert my DVD, the installation for IIS will complete. I'll click on Finish, and we'll validate through our web browser that we can browse to localhost. And the under construction is a good sign. I'm going to right-click, choose Manage. We'll take a look at the IIS service running down here. At the bottom, expand websites, click on default website. I should be able to browse to this HTML as well as HTML. That's the same one we had just browsed to. Another way we can test this, I'm going to right-click and choose Explore. We can see where these files are being saved here. I'm actually going to browse open up this folder here and click on folders. We can see it's being saved at inet www.root, and I can go in and just create a new text file and call this default.htm. I will feel free to save that. I'm going to open with Notepad and say hello world. Save this, go back, and when we browse this, we can see that our web server indeed is rendering hello world to our web presence here. Alright, next we're going to install SQL Server Express, and I'm going to start up the SQL Server Express 2005 and show you the configurations that I usually use when I'm installing locally. And if you don't know this yet, Interprise Suite 5.4.1 currently is only certified to work with the version 2005 of SQL Server, not 2008, so if you run into problems, that might be one of the things that you're running into. Okay, I'm going to accept the terms and conditions, click on Next, click on Install, and if we didn't have the prerequisites of the .NET framework, SQL Server Express would not install at this time. It would let you know that required components are not installed yet. As we can see, all checkpoints have passed along the way for my pre-configuration checklist for SQL Server Express. I'm going to uncheck the Hide Advanced Features, and let's take a look at some of the things by default that I would choose to install on a local desktop while testing our software. Now, of course, you may want to I highly encourage you to use a SQL Server database administrator when configuring your production server. This is just an overview to get you to be able to install the application and use it successfully. At this point in time, there really are no other things I need to install on the SQL Server configuration with regards to features that need to be selected. I'll choose Next. I'm going to leave the default instance name of SQL Express. In a little bit here, I'll explain to you, had we chosen default, we would not have a SQL Express instance to choose. I like using the defaults here as well. Network service will be the default built-in system account, and the service to start up will be SQL Server when this particular box starts up again. I personally use Windows Authentication Mode for my local installations of SQL Server. Again, in a production environment, you absolutely would use mixed mode and use variations of authentication. I'll leave the collation alone and click Next. I will enable user instances by default, and I don't want to bother to send anything to Microsoft during this install process. We'll choose Next, and we'll choose Finish. Lastly, I'm going to install the SQL Server Management Studio. This will allow you to give better visibility into your instances of SQL Express or SQL running on a local or remote machine, and allow you to do some advanced configurations such as memory management and attaching and detaching databases, possibly cache databases. And now we'll validate that SQL Server Management Studio Express is running. This is where I can see that my instance that I chose, the SQL Express instance, is showing up against my server name. I chose Windows Authentication. I'll choose Connect. And indeed, we're connected with probably no databases in here at this point in time, which we'd expect. So to recap, we've installed the .NET Framework 2.0, the Microsoft WSE 3.0 Runtime, MS XML6, Microsoft SQL Express 32-bit, and Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio. Our next video in the series will be installing Interprise Suite 5.4.1. Thank you, and bye for now.